So my career looked like it was quickly swirling around the drain hole and going down the drain. I went to work at various jobs. I sold life insurance, I sold vacuum cleaners, I worked in an ice cream parlor, I serviced fish tanks in people's homes and doctors' offices. Here comes the fish doctor, they used to say. I heard that too many times. And then I found a 2-year job in the United States Army. There I was standing in front of a desk, a corporal sitting behind the desk had a typewriter. You remember typewriters. And he said to me, "What do you do in civilian life?" I said, "I'm an actor." And he said, "Oh, tell me what I might have seen you in." Zombies of the stratosphere. Click, 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 click. Infantry. Okay. I came out of the Army 2 years later. By that time I was married, I had a child, I had another one on the way, and I had to go to work immediately to produce some income before I could get my acting career going again. And one night, I was driving a taxi in West Los Angeles, took a job in cab driving, and I got a call to go pick up Mr. Kennedy at the Bel Air Hotel. And being from Massachusetts, the Kennedy name meant something to me. It was 1956. And the man that came out to get into my cab was Jack Kennedy, John F. Kennedy. And he was not known nationally. Later that year, he made an important speech at the Democratic Convention. He got some national attention. But when he stepped into my cab, hardly anybody knew him in California. And I said, "How are things in Massachusetts, Senator?" And he was interested. "Oh, it's great, somebody recognized him. Are you from Massachusetts?" "Yes." "Where?" "Boston." "Where in Boston?" I said, the West End. He knew the area very well. He had an office just about 2 or 3 blocks from where I lived. He was on Beacon Hill. And he said, "What are you doing out here?" And here I am driving a taxi. I said, "I'm an actor." He said, "A lot of competition in your business." I said, "Yes." He said, "Just like mine." "Keep in mind," he said, "there's always room for one more good one." And I took that in and held on to it. It meant a lot to me to keep that in mind. 4 years later, he was elected president. 3 years after that, he was gone. Anyway, these are great memories, and I hold them dearly. I was invited to come out to Republic Studios for a meeting with a producer. And he said, "Do you ride?" And I said, "No, not a car. Do you ride? Horses. We do westerns." Well, I made a mistake. I hadn't learned yet. I said, "No, I don't ride." He said, "You better learn because we do westerns." I learned very quickly that when you're an actor and you go on an audition, whatever they ask you, can you do? You say yes. Can you drop off a ship like 100 feet into the water and swim 300 yards, kill a shark, and climb back on the ship? Yes. Done it many times. Yeah. I learned to ride. I worked in Gunsmoke. I worked in Wagon Train. I worked in Rawhide with Clint Eastwood. I worked in Bonanza. The kid in the Army. I think the only one that looks authentic in a Western is DeForest Kelly. Cowboy Shatner? I don't think so. And Jimmy Doohan is a laughing Indian? I don't think so. I don't know. Anyway, here I am. I did a lot of them. I played some bad Indians. I don't think I did them badly. They were bad people, you know. I played Indians so bad, Indians wouldn't play them. Anyway, it was a way of learning, a way of making a living. And then in 1960, I acted in a play called Death Watch, which was a very successful play in Los Angeles, and a lot of the industry people came to see this. And then we made the film in 1964. And a lot of the industry people came, and I started working very steady after that. The man on the right in the uniform was Robert Ellenstein, who I was able to hire later to play the president of the Federation in Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. And this was a play called Death Watch, and after that, it was a big career lift. I was in Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, Dr. Kildare, Perry Mason, And eventually a series called The Lieutenant, produced by Gene Roddenberry. And now after Trains and Horses, we're talking about starships. So I got a call one day after I'd done this episode with The Lieutenant. My agent called me and said, Gene Roddenberry saw the footage and he's interested in you for a pilot, for a television series, a science fiction that he's going to make. And he'll be in touch. And I thought, well, okay, you know, I've been working pretty good by then, so I kind of took it with a grain of salt. There's a lot of maybes. And maybe he's going to cast me in it. Maybe he's going to make the pilot. Maybe he'll cast me in it. Maybe the pilot sells. Maybe the network will keep me in the show. Maybe it'll get picked up for more than 3 or 4 episodes. There's a lot of maybes. But when he called a couple months later and asked for a meeting, I went and I thought, okay, now he's going to audition me or whatever. When I got there, he walked me around the various departments. He showed me the sets being built. He showed me the costumes being designed. He showed me the props, the tricorder and the communicator, the phaser, and the makeup department. And he said he'd be wearing pointed ears. And I thought, oh. Anyway, I realized that he was now selling me on this job. I wasn't there to be auditioned. I had this job if I wanted it. All I had to do was keep my mouth shut. I could go to work. You know? So it was a little scary, but what attracted me, I mean, the ears and all of that, you know, it could have been a bad joke. But what attracted me was when he said, this character is going to be a Vulcan from the planet Vulcan. He's going to look alien, going to look different. He's going to have a human mother and a Vulcan father. And he's going to have an internal life that consists of a battle between his emotions and his logic, and he's going to try to live as a Vulcan, to suppress the emotional side of his persona, and live as a Vulcan, unemotionally. And I thought that's an interesting challenge for an actor, and it sounds like it might be an interesting role to play. So I took the job, and we went to work. And this is one of the first photographs that was ever taken of us. Actually shot summer of 1966 before we even went on the air. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but somebody said, go outside, there's somebody wants to talk to you guys. We walked out, and somebody took this photograph. And this is in the makeup department, detailing a chair. And I've got my makeup on the eyebrows and the ears and so forth, but obviously still wearing my civilian clothes. And the work was intense. Once in a while we had a laugh. The work was very intense. I was there 12 hours a day. I got there in the makeup chair at 6:30 in the morning and walked out of the studio, drove out at 6:30 at night every day. The days were long, but the work was hard. It took a lot of energy. In the afternoons at 3 or 4 o'clock, in order to stay sharp and on my game, I started gulping honey to give myself an extra surge of energy. We did some very, very interesting episodes, as I'm sure you know and understand. We had an episode where Kirk was split into 2 personalities. I think it was called The Enemy Within. Malfunction in the transporter. He comes up as a kind of a meek, mild-mannered Kirk, and he comes up as a nasty Kirk. So it's our version of the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde story. And there comes a moment in the story where the evil Kirk has a phaser and he's going to shoot the mild Kirk. And if he does that, we'll never get Humpty Dumpty back together again. So, and the writer had written that Spock comes up behind the bad guy and hits him over the head with the butt of his phaser. And I said to the director, I don't think that's appropriate for the 23rd century in science fiction. You know, if we were doing Gunsmoke, that might work, you know. So what do you want to do? And I said, well, Spock is a graduate of the Vulcan Institute of Technology. And he took courses in human anatomy. And Vulcans have a certain kind of energy on their fingertips, which if applied appropriately to the pressure points on a human would render him unconscious. The director said, oh, really? You watch the way this works. And I came up behind Bill Shatner, and I did that, and Bill went like that, and dropped to the floor, and that's where the Vulcan Neck Pinch was born. It was a big success, a lot of people ask